Media Valley Dam Week, and in this session, we're going to get into the topic of what frustrates you most about your current dam. And I think, as most of us on this call are marketers of some form or another, we are mired in reams of technology. I'd say in my 22 years working in tech marketing, the biggest change is just the volume of technology and that sort of disparate silos of point solutions. And we'll get into a little bit about onboarding, a little bit about adoption, some of the challenges. So great topic to cover over the next 25 minutes. So thanks for joining us. I'm Stephen Midgley, the CMO at Media Valley, and with me is Rachael Arner, one of our account managers here at Media Valley, who has lots of experience navigating the world of DAM from a customer perspective. So hi, Rachael.
Hey, Stephen, and hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. Excited to chat about DAM during DAM week and very excited to answer any questions people have today as well.
Great. Yeah, great. I'm looking forward to sharing this virtual stage with you for the next 25 minutes or so. As Rachael mentioned at the top, a note for our attendees, this is intended to be a roundtable type discussion, so maybe a little bit different from other webinars you've attended where it's sort of one flow information. So please go ahead, post your questions into the chat. We'll also have a few polls over the next 25 minutes to shape the discussion. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure. And so the polls will help shape the topics that we dive into. So let's get into it. I think from a digital asset management perspective, certainly it's very much the decision making is driven by marketing, and it's perceived to be a marketing centric solution. But to be truly successful, DAM should be positioned as an enterprise-wide solution. And the key to that is adoption. And why that's important is, especially if we go through times of budgets being cut back. And for those on the call know that marketing budgets are one of the first to get cut when times are lean. The value of a DAM is magnified significantly if it's used across the organization as opposed to a marketing only solution. And we've got some great customers like Fred Rogers, whose entire organization uses the DAM, from licensing to marketing to branding to finance. And so that whole org is using the DAM. And the key to that is adoption. And in fact, that applies to pretty much every technology solution. If you have widespread utilization, adoption, you're going to have a far better an improved time to value, but you're also going to have you're going to see realize the real potential of the tech solution. So Rachael, before we get into the polls, are there some tactics that you recommend to organizations on how they can achieve that adoption across the organization when it comes to the DAM?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to adoption, it is often one of the biggest challenges with the DAM implementation, not necessarily the technology itself. So I usually recommend a few key tactics. I'll address on those in just a second here. And really those key tactics are really in place to drive adoption effectively. So as you mentioned, a DAM is, you can look at it as a marketing tool, but it really is valuable when it is an enterprise-based tool. So with that, I always like to say the first kind of tactic is stakeholder engagement. So what I mean by that is involve your key users early. So whether it's a creative team, a marketing team, brand teams, social media teams, video teams, involve them all in that decision-making process and the engagement with the DAM so that they have input into the structure, the taxonomy, and those workflows. So when people feel ownership of the DAM, they feel like they have a seat at the table, they're more likely to adopt. The second really tactic there is prioritize the high impact areas. And what I mean by that is, the DAM is an enterprise tool, but it needs to grow to that level. So focus on those high impact use cases that solve for real pain points first. This will help demonstrate the value of DAM and encourage a proactive and solution focused adoption to the DAM. So really just prioritize those high impact areas. What is going to be the use cases that you're looking to solve for first? Third piece to that, integrate with your tech stack. That is so important for adoption. So if a dam fits seamlessly into your workflows, people will feel more encouraged to adopt the system. So whether it's connecting the dam to your creative tools like Adobe or Canva, places like your website, even project management tools, system integrations can boost daily use by reducing the friction between these systems. And that's a really great tactic to really create a tech ecosystem where DAM is a pivotal piece of that, and that'll encourage and boost adoption. Fourth tactic, really train and support. This should be a no-brainer. Obviously, we want people to use the system. We want to train them and feel supported with the system. So by that, I mean, providing those hands-on trainings, especially, with Media Valet, we offer that training and support with all of our contracts in various levels. Providing things like how-to guides to your user bases, encouraging that feedback, and really with all of that kind of communication, those supporting articles, those trainings, you're really just helping to reduce any friction points. You're helping your teams feel enabled to use the DAM, but also feel confident in doing so. And last but not least, in terms of those adoption tactics, iterate and evolve. I will say it again, iterate and evolve. Adoption isn't just a one-time event. It doesn't just happen at the kickoff of a new DAM. So continue to gather your feedback and refine your metadata, permissions, and processes. People's workflows evolve, meaning really their needs evolve. And therefore, your DAM should also evolve. So always, we see organizations go through things like DAM refreshes, or you have new stakeholders at the table, or you're wanting to expand your DAM to that true enterprise solution. That means you really need to revisit what's important. Are there new pain points? Find out what works, iterate, and evolve. So really to summarize all of that, adoption really succeeds when the DAM feels indispensable to everyday work. There should be a high focus on people, process, and continuous communication as well. So not just the platform. Find a DAM which is easy to use and supports your workflows, but then put the work into adoption. Work with your DAM representatives to really understand how they can help you achieve adoption. You'll have one valuable DAM on your hands to help you achieve your business goals. Those are the tactics I would definitely recommend.
Yeah, that's great. So a couple things though. One is, addressing the pain points. So that's going to get you, it's addressing pain points is going to improve time to value. And then it's all about integration too. And I'd
Mhm.
mentioned earlier that, in the last couple of decades, the volume of MarTech solutions has grown exponentially. And so I think the promise of the North Star of any DAM platform is that single source of truth. And so for DAM owners, it's being able to get the right content to the right people. But for DAM users, it's be able to access the right content at the right time and knowing it's the most up-to-date content. So that single source of truth can only really exist if you've got it integrated into other systems. I know here at Media Valet, we've got integrations with the likes of Rike and Money.com, and those workflow management solutions really help improve operational efficiencies. And I like the sort of train and support and iterate and evolve because really it's always about the people, no matter what solution you're looking at. It comes down to people, and if people don't use the system, the tool, it's never going to achieve its potential. And I think it really is about ease of use. And if it's difficult or challenging to navigate, difficult, challenging to get the information you need, people are just going to find other ways. And in our world, it's, well, they're going to stay with SharePoint, for example, or Google Drives.
Mhm.
And I love I did a session damn week back in, I guess it was May, and the statement stuck with me. And you kind of talked about it without saying the exact words, but DAM is a journey, not a project. It's so yes, you select the DAM, you have an onboarding um, deliverable and project, but the DAM itself is constantly evolving and constantly changing. And I think with AI in particular, there's a lot of AI is heavy on the light on the I. but there's a lot of talk about AI, and so it's really changing quickly. And so it is a journey. It's constantly being evolved and changing. So yeah, it's a cool time to be in this space.
Oh, absolutely. And to that as well, I mean, DAM is a journey, but it's DAM isn't a tool. It should be a partner. It should be something that you go to and you have trust in, and it will evolve over time as workflows evolve and as people's roles and responsibilities evolve. The DAM should be looked at as its own almost employee of an organization where it is there to support the rest of the employees getting their content, returning the value to the marketing teams, the creative teams, the entire organization. I mean, we have organizations that have product departments in and HR and legal, and there's
Yeah.
really no one who couldn't have access and benefit from the DAM. And obviously, it does start predominantly as a marketing solution, but really, when you grow to that enterprise solution and have that mindset, the value that you return from that DAM, it becomes a partner, not a tool. And that's something I always, when I speak with my clients and
Hmm.
talking to people who are using DAM, it's if we try to get to that point of not looking at it as a tool. I mean, we know it's technology. Technology is a helpful tool, but if we look at it as a partner, we see it more of a relationship, and we can build on that and really, get it to a point where we can use it to return value to our organization and hit our business goals.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. So a lot of people on our call today, they're, mainly in marketing, and marketing is always under the gun. We've always got to justify our spend, measure ROI, and so it can be a very challenging place because everyone thinks they can do marketing. Not everyone thinks they can be an engineer, but everyone thinks they can do marketing. And I think damn done well, it can make a hero of marketing. And I've been through a couple of large global rebrands in previous companies, and a rebrand and the brand identity is just it's a house of cards. It looks great. You take one card out, the whole thing falls apart. And so that damn done well can make a hero of marketing and show the value that marketing is bringing to the organization. So yeah, lots of cool things. And I think, so we talked a little bit like the onboarding and adoption, and we do have a session later today on onboarding, and it's going to be a really, really good topic. So that's later today. So there's this day-to-day management um, of of the dam and how you build it and gain momentum across the organization. But it's a nice segue from the topic of adoption to look at sort of daily challenges. Every technology solution brings challenges. So let's bring up our first poll, and we're going to ask the audience here to just tell us what are your biggest day-to-day challenges when using your digital asset management solution? So finding the right assets quickly, getting teams to actually use the dam, that's always a problem. Managing metadata and tagging consistency, and we all know that metadata and taxonomy are the cornerstones of a dam well built. Sharing content externally, maybe that's with partners, maybe that's with outside organizations. For example, if you've got a large PR department, and then keeping assets on brand and up to date, which is a constant pain point for any marketer. Nothing worse than a sales rep using clip art to do his or her PowerPoint presentation, which I've actually experienced firsthand. Very embarrassing and not a good place to be. So we'll get everyone to fill in their comments. We'll give you a few, 30 seconds, and then this is kind of like the results are going to guide where we go next in our conversation. All right. Well, Rachel, there is some good stuff to talk about there. So
Absolutely.
we've got finding the right assets quickly is by far the number one pain point. And then,
Mhm.
yeah, getting teams to actually use the dam. Rachel, do you want to tackle that first point?
I absolutely, yeah. So finding the right assets quickly, something this comes up quite often is organizations there's a team that sets up the dam and there's a team that uses the dam. And quite often we find there's a slight disconnect, sometimes a very large disconnect between those two teams. And really when it comes down to it is a team will design metadata and taxonomy. And this brings me back to my first tactic around adoption is if there's a stakeholder who is going to be using the dam, get their input early so you can understand
Yeah.
how to build taxonomy. So when it comes to things like finding the assets quickly, it could be many factors really contributing to that. The most common I particularly see is the metadata is set up very strong, very rich, but not necessarily in the mind of an end user who needs to ingest the content or search for content. So there
Mm.
sometimes is a disconnect between those. And that really just takes a little bit of a quick look at the metadata, getting feedback from those users who are saying, hey, I can't find these assets. I want to be able to use the dam, but if
Yeah.
I'm not able to find what I want, it's a challenge. So
Yeah.
identifying what's causing the challenge, working with your dam representative to say, hey, we're hearing this feedback. What else can we do to, boost our metadata, make things more searchable? Sometimes it comes down to let's look at what terms they're searching for. Do they have the right categories? Would they benefit from
Yeah.
a branded portal? Would they benefit from saved searches or just essentially identifying where they need to go in the dam, making it very clear and very easy for them so they don't have to think twice about it. So that's really what I often see. The other is also, giving them the support on how to search for assets and find assets. That comes down to those how-to guides, get them some hands-on training, and it really all comes back to
Mm.
communication. If they're telling you, hey, I can't find these assets, listen, try to figure out why they can't, and then strategize on to make it easier for them to find those assets. That's my two
Great.
cents on that piece.
Excellent. Thank you. And then the second one, getting teams to actually use a dam. I would say, we talked about earlier, dam is a enterprise-wide solution and a marketing solution. So I think when marketing is leading in a solution that is enterprise that needs widespread adoption, it's identifying the who is the damn champion in finance or in sales or in support, and having regular meetings to kind of go through and sort of and bring them into the project. So I think the challenge sometimes, if marketing sits in its ivory tower and just runs this project, it's going to be more challenging. But if we don't make it an inclusive project, so and having ongoing, maybe you meet monthly to review. There is a question from Jeff in the group in the chat. People in our company all want their own space or their own dam. Our company dam got super messy. I want to purge, but everyone is scared to delete. And I think any suggestions, and I think two things. One is this is what happens when um, you don't have like a dam champions in different departments meeting on a regular basis to review. And I always look at the dam as it's like a garden. So in the spring, you plant your garden, it looks lovely. If you don't maintain it, it's going to look pretty rough by summertime. And so any suggestions? I'm sure you've gone through this before, Rachel. Any suggestions for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually just looking at that question too, going, what a perfect segue into that question. So thank you for that, audience member. That really ties in nicely. So a couple things here is, when as Stephen was mentioning, having those stakeholders or those champions in each department is so important. Just understand what their needs are. And this really comes down to communication. If you can understand what the needs of each department are, you don't have to then go out and source and try to guess what they need. There's nothing worse than having to try to guess and understand how an entire enterprise organization thinks. Everyone has different needs individually. So having those champions is really going to take down a lot of the kind of efforts you'll have to take as a dam manager to understand the needs of those organizations. So when things
Mhm.
get really messy, as Stephen mentioned, treat it like a garden. You need to maintain, and dam maintenance is a very important tactic for ongoing dam health. So when we're looking at, things getting messy, we have a lot of organizations that, they come in, they're like, I don't know how it got away from me. There are strategies to help you there. A couple things are, having the champions in each department, just sit down and do a quick audit of your dam. What do they need? Do they have the right permissions? Do they have a seat at the table that is effective for their specific roles?
Mhm.
Next from that is understanding, what tools do they need? Do you have all the tools in your dam to make it helpful for them? Maybe, if you're working in a higher education organization, you have an alumni team. maybe face recognition is really important to them, where it maybe wouldn't be important for other departments. So really understanding, do you have all the tools that these organizations need within the larger organization? And then from there as well is, we're always afraid to delete things. And I totally understand that, because you never know when you're going to need something. That's the point where we're going to revisit the type of storage we're using. Is everything used and active and available to your whole organization? Or do we want to kind of tuck it away in its own archival section? And we look at things like cold storage or other ways to manage and organize your assets. All of that can be supported with your DAM representative. Hop on a call with them and say, hey, here's the challenges we're facing. We want to clean up our DAM. What do you suggest? Come to the table with some suggestions, or at least end goals and what you want to achieve. Having those conversations are really vital in taking those steps forward and cleaning up and maintaining your dam.
Yeah, good points. Yeah, I mean, you talk about the dam is, it should be viewed, the dam solution as a partner and not a technology. That's a great way to look at it. And I think also whatever dam you're using, that vendor needs to be with you side by side and helping you get the most value out of your dam solution. So one of the keys to success for any DAM solution or any technology solution for that matter, it is around usability or ease of use. And we all know a tool that is difficult to use is a tool that's just not used. So let's bring up our next poll and to see what pain points our audience are finding with their DAM today. So which area of your DAM's usability frustrates you the most? Uploading and organizing files, search and filtering capabilities, and that goes back to discoverability, approval or collaboration workflows, integration with other tools like workflow management, creative apps like Figma, and UI, ease of navigation. So we'll give that a few seconds. We'll see what the responses are, and that will shape the next stage of the conversation. It's kind of exciting to do it this way. And while we're doing that, there is a test question: which department should own the dam? There is a question: which department should own the dam? That really needs to be. I think it should be marketing owns it. I think it's a marketing initiative. It's content, but as we talked about, it really needs to. Marketing is the owner, but that you need different departments contributing. So it's enterprise wide, but led by marketing.
Yeah, I think that's really brings it back to, having everyone having a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Marketing maybe is, not to go real, King Arthur on this, but if it was the Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur is the marketing, all of the knights are the different departments, and it's unity within that really helps build a stronger and longer lasting dam. Didn't realize I'd go a King Arthur analogy
I
on
like
that,
that
but we
analogy.
went for it.
I'm English, so I'll go with King Arthur analogy. That's all good. Okay, here we got some responses here. Which area of dam frustrates you the most? Uploading and organizing files, followed by search and filtering capabilities and integration with other tools. Why don't we tackle the uploading and organizing files, Rachel?
Yeah, there's a lot of different thoughts that come to play when it comes to uploading and organizing files. I'd like to kind of almost pair that with search and filtering capabilities and integration with other tools. When we look at
Okay.
those three, something that comes to mind is, maybe just having a conversation with someone around the capabilities that the dam has. Really, what comes
Mhm.
to mind for me is something like a professional services. A lot of organizations out there will have some sort of, from a software standpoint, some sort of professional services offering. You can even, talk with professional and industry professionals themselves, just to understand, what they would recommend. When I talk about professional services, that's really having someone sit with you and understand what taxonomy you need. And when I talk about taxonomy, I really talk about, metadata, organization, are things set up the way to really encourage success with the dam? So that's something that, in my mind right away goes, well, that sounds like maybe a call for professional services. Let's have a chat and say, what offerings can we have? Do we want to have someone kind of jump in and be our dam leader in that sense to get us on the right path? So that's one side of my brain is thinking, let's talk professional services. When we look at uploading and organizing files, really understanding how each organization, or sorry, each department within an organization needs to function is really vital in understanding how to organize the files. I always look at it like it's my desk at home and when I'm working. If someone came in, decided to reorganize it the way they wanted to, maybe it works for them. It wouldn't work for me. Everyone wants things done differently, and it's a matter of finding the gaps that cause those frictions and finding the continuity that allows everyone a seat at that table to work effectively. So when we look at uploading and organizing files, two things with that. One, who are the stakeholders uploading assets? Are they all internal? Are they
Mhm.
external? What do those permissions look like? And then the organizing of files as well. Do the uploaders also then have the right to organize the files? Where are they going? Do they have the right tools to organize those effectively to keep the DAM ecosystem clean and fresh? Lots of thoughts there. And what I would recommend with something a little bit more broad, like uploading and organizing files, is talk to your DAM representative and say, hey, we're having a challenge with uploading. This is our current process. What do you recommend that we do differently because we're not having a great go at it?
Yeah.
With the organizing of files as well, some organizations really do benefit from something like a professional services offering where they have someone come in, take a look at their entire DAM and go, here's what I've identified as some potential challenge areas. This is what you want to achieve. Here's how you're going to achieve it with our help. So a couple offerings there, but just some food for thought in terms of professional services goes a long way. It really just ties
Yeah.
into the skills that someone has who works in DAM day in, day out to just come and kind of sit with you at the table and just say, this is our recommendation.
Great. Yeah. So we're almost at time, but we've got a couple of questions in the chat that I want to just quickly do a quick response for. One is, even with a well-structured taxonomy and tagging process, our team still say finding assets isn't as easy as it should be. Is that a universal DAM problem, or are we missing something? Might be hard to answer without getting into the more details.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a universal frustration when it
Yeah.
comes to dams just across the board. Um, I think with that, and again, like there's probably more specifics that we would need to investigate to give you a full kind of full-fledged answer on that. I
Yeah.
think it's having the taxonomy, having the tagging process, and the assets are still not be able to be found. Where are those individuals going for their assets? Does it make sense to use something like an external portal where all they have to do is just open one page, they have everything they need to have? I always talk to, especially when we're talking with like marketing and sales is a very common relationship. If the sales teams need to come into the dam and find things really effectively, give them the tools they need. Don't have an entire dam set up for this whole ecosystem where they have to kind of have a jungle gym around to find what they need to look for. Give them the tools that they need, give them the spots they need to go, and make it very clear for them.
And we have a comment here from Richard, City of Delta, who is actually a Media Valley customer. So thanks for that, Richard. We won't have time to answer that, but I've made a note, Richard, around download all and web gallery. So Richard, we'll get back to you offline on that question because we are at time, but
Hey, Richard.
I wanted to oh, do you know Richard? I wanted to
Yeah.
recognize that Richard, he asked that question. Well, hey, Rachel, that was super fun, actually.
Hmm.
So
Some great questions that came through.
yeah, we're at end, but we'll get a recording of the session to everyone. We do have some other sessions today. We've got two more sessions in 30 minutes. We've got one on switching dams without losing your assets or your sanity. That's with Telescope, one of our customers. It's a creative services agency. And I think, switching from one dam to another, while can be uplifting, is certainly fraught with some challenges. And then we have a session later on today from launch to loyalty, how onboarding shapes DAM success. And that's going to deep dive into the importance of onboarding, something that we've talked about at the beginning of the session briefly, but really deep dive into onboarding and how it can increase time to value and help deliver that wide enterprise-wide adoption. So two really good sessions later today. Rachel, that was fun. Appreciate you hanging out with me for 30 minutes on this virtual stage. And
Yeah, it was fun.
yeah, everyone who joined, thanks for your questions. Thanks for your listening and participation. And have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Stephen. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. See you.